Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Will you be happy with that? Is this a real thing? Is it actually going to happen to us? And where is it coming from? What does it mean for property? Are we going to not own our properties anymore? Are we going to give them back to the government? Well, this video, we're going to go into all of that and more. So while you're here, if you haven't done already, make sure you smash that subscribe button over there and hit the bell notification. That really helps us grow the channel. We're nearly at 17,000 subscribers now, so smash that button over there and hit the like button. Maybe share this video. You might have some friends or family that want to know about this stuff, so do share this video around on social media and comment below if you're a sharer. So, you'll own nothing and be happy. Doesn't sound great, does it? Well, what is this all about? This is a phrase that we're seeing again and again and again. And the reason I'm making this video is I have about 10% of the comments on the video are from you guys saying this exact phrase. And that's because you've done some research into it and you've got a belief either way on that. So I did a survey on the channel. So we did a survey. You can see 262 of you voted on this, which was interesting. And so we said the World Economic Forum, you'll own nothing and be happy. It's one of the most common comments on the channel. So my question is, do you agree the government and the World Economic Forum want to implement so that we will own nothing and be happy? Or do you think this has been taken out of context from a speech? And so I wanted to work this out by who's a homeowner and believes this and who rents and believes this. So the yeses are 69% of you. So 69% of you that watch this channel believe this is something that will eventually happen. And most of you that watch this channel, 59% of those yeses, are homeowners. So that's interesting to see here. Now, the no's, we've got 32% over there. We've got no's. 28% of people don't believe this will happen and own a property, and only 4% of people don't believe it will happen and rent a property. So I thought that was interesting to know the type of people that are watching this and what your beliefs are on this. So I'm going to cover what they mean by this, what the World Economic Forum is, and give you a little insight onto what I think will happen as well from this. So Klaus Schwab, he's the founder of the World Economic Forum. He founded the World Economic Forum in 1971. It was started as a not-for-profit foundation. The World Economic Forum is headquartered in Geneva in Switzerland. And now it started out as the European Management Forum. What initially the Economic Forum's goal was to bring European management, like corporate management, up to the same standard or better than American. At the time, in the 70s, it felt that European companies weren't run as efficiently as American, which is why America became as big as it did. And so it was originally focused on helping European firms catch up with USA management practices, as we said there. So the forum engages the foremost political, business, cultural and other leaders of society to shape global, regional and industrial agendas. Now, these guys aren't a government. They're a body that people join, but they've got a lot of persuasive power. They have got so many people in there. They've got world leaders in there. They've got big heads of state in there. They've got some of the richest people in there. They've got some of the most influential people that are members of this. And so they had prediction. This is what they are predicting will happen by 2030. Let's see if you agree with these statements. As we go through this, I'd love to know your thoughts and comments. So do comment below with anything that you're thinking as we're going through the video. I really want to have a good conversation about this. So the most famous line is, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Now, me personally, I wouldn't be that happy if I owned nothing. I've got myself into a nice position now where I've got a portfolio of properties. I can work I do work. I don't need to work. It gives me that comfort blanket, and it's an easier business to run than a normal business. So I'm not sure I'd be happy with that. But let's see what else they're saying here. So the USA won't be the world's leading superpower. Instead, a handful of countries will dominate. Now, that does seem a little fairer. That means that countries like China, up-and-coming countries like Saudi Arabia, and all these other countries would have more say in what happens on a world stage. However, personally, as a Western country, that sounds a little more terrifying. Now, Western countries aren't without fault for sure, but if things became a bit more like China in the Western world, I don't think we would enjoy it. I don't think it would be something that we would embrace with open arms. And so this is what they're predicting will happen. And that is starting to happen. I mean, China is rising up quite quickly now as being a dominant superpower, and potentially is going to be worth more than America at some point. Now, here's interesting. So it's not all about money and stuff like that. You won't die waiting for an organ donor. That's a problem at the moment. There's not enough organ donors. There's lots of diseases out there. Instead, we won't transplant organs. We'll print new ones. Now, this is new technology that they're predicting will replace waiting for someone else's organs. I think that possibly could be true. And honestly, if an organ works and keeps someone alive, I'll be happy with that. I'd be happy with that, if I'm totally honest. Now, the problem is they have been trying this stuff and it hasn't worked. I saw a guy that had a pig heart the other day and died very, very quickly afterwards. However, he wasn't going to live anyway. So for him, it probably was worth trying, and maybe down the line they'll figure it out so it does work for people. So that's quite interesting. What do you think about that one? You won't die waiting for an organ. You'll eat much less meat. Now, this is because of their green agenda. So the World Economic Forum, one of their big things is that they want to get pollution down, get us close to net zero in the world. And it is a fact that transporting meat and animals and methane that they produce does make the country or the world less green. However, some of the substitutes that they're considering are like fake meat and stuff like that. I don't see that working out too great. I think eventually that's going to cause problems and new diseases that we don't necessarily know about. 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. We'll have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. Now, that's interesting because that's happening now already. We are seeing refugees in UK. We've got 700,000 this year. In America, they're constantly going on about the border being open. And they've got lots of people coming into that country as well. And so what these guys are saying is, this isn't going to stop. You're going to get more people coming to your country, so you're going to have to get used to it. And so you're going to have to deal with them and like accommodate those people better. I don't think that a lot of people will be happy with that. It might happen, but I don't think it's something that people will embrace for sure. Polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. Now, that's an interesting one. And so you'll see big countries like China, for example, they pollute the world more than the Western countries. However, the Western countries have just moved their manufacturing to China because it was cheaper. So we're actually getting our goods made for us in China. So it's kind of our fault that pollution's happening in that region. If we wanted to build that stuff in our country, the pollution would happen here. And so, if you're going to tax or put something onto those countries, I don't think they're going to easily agree to that. China's a very powerful country. I can't see them massively rolling over and letting that happen, if I'm totally honest. What's next? So these are all their predictions, remember. You could be preparing to go to Mars because scientists will have worked out how to keep you alive in space. That might be the case. But realistically, 2030, it's 2024 in a few weeks. Not going to happen, is it? We're not going to be living in Mars in 6 years from now. They haven't even got anywhere for us to live on there. And would you want to go on that long journey all the way to Mars? Not me. I don't think I could cope on that journey. It would be awful. And so I don't believe, well, maybe there'll be 10 people living in space on like Mars by 2030, maybe. But are they going to build the space stations by then? Have water and all that kind of stuff? I don't think so. I think that one's a bit of a far-fetched one. Western values will have been tested to breaking point. And that's all about the integration and making it one world, which is what the World Economic Forum want. I don't like that. I mean, I like going on holiday, if I'm honest. I like to go to Asia and see the different cultures and the different food and the different people, and go to Dubai and see how they live, Australia and different places. I like the fact that the world's different. From my perspective, I think it's interesting, and making it all the same, and we all watch the same TV shows, we all eat the same food. I don't think that's particularly great for the human race, if I'm honest. Let me know your thoughts on that one below. But look, all those things are there. Google them, because some of those things sound crazy. And so you can see that this is actually stuff that the World Economic Forum has predicted or said in their talks. So it's interesting because some of it seems so far-fetched. I know when I heard it for the first time, I'm like, no way are they saying this stuff. But it's there. It's on their website, and you can check this stuff all out. So their objective is globalism and net zero. They want to save the world by bringing the energy crisis under control. But that means that we would be more controlled. And so you've got to look at it like that. Are they trying to control us? Or are they really more worried about the net zero? It's hard to tell with this stuff. And that's what we're trying to get the conversation going with you guys around this. Globalism, we are in a globalistic world already, but they feel that we should be more like that. Every country should be similar. Now, this one is interesting. They're really into slowing population growth. Now, they have a few members, high up members of the World Economic Forum, that say that we need to reduce the population in the world in order to have the globe that survives, basically. Then there are the other side saying that that's already happening. Like, population is going up at the moment because people are living longer and certain areas are having more kids. But actually, on a year-by-year basis, there are less people having children now. People are working longer and all of this stuff. So eventually, if you look at what Elon Musk talks about, this kind of stuff, population growth is going to drastically fall. Countries like Japan, they're in depopulation mode at the moment. Less and less people are being born. They don't have kids often in Japan. They've got a real crisis on their hand. These guys think that's good. I don't think that's good. I think that the amount of people that we've got, I think you could fit way more people on this earth, and it just needs to be managed better. I don't think that we cause as much. We do cause a lot of destruction, but we could manage it a lot better. And I think we could have a growing population still, and still look after the animals, look after the wildlife, and all of that stuff. So I'm not for me, I'm not. If they want to be the first ones to volunteer, those guys to depopulate themselves, not me. So operations. So what do? So they have annual meetings in Davos in Switzerland. So that brings all of the members in, and there's some big people in there. They also have regional summits, industry summits, and other events around the world. So these guys are all over the place. There's so much going on with the World Economic Forum, and what they're trying to do effectively is be a world government and give our government and our businesses a framework that these guys feel that we should be working to. right? That's interesting to see. Now, the majority of their funding is provided by world's most significant business entities, so by their members, and they join as forum members and partners to participate. All the big companies are in this thing. You've got Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and everyone. And individuals are also in there. There's huge, famous politicians in there. It's a who's who of the world stage is actually a member of the World Economic Forum. And so it's interesting to see who's in there and how they're getting, like... Well, the World Economic Forum is effectively telling them this is what we should be doing. And so they're being influenced by that massively, which is interesting. And so one of the things that they talk about a lot, which most people are worried about, is the will own nothing and be happy. And so some of these big companies have already started having products that are a little like that. So if you think about Amazon, for example. Amazon used to sell tons of books and DVDs. Now you can get a Kindle book, but you can rent the books and you can get them on a subscription. Not all of them, but some of them. Or you've got Amazon Prime, where you've got all of the videos that you might ever want. Netflix is the same, right? You've got so much content on there, but you pay for it on a monthly basis. Apple do that as well. So iPhones, you can get the new iPhone and never own it. You can get a deal with Apple. It's not massively obvious on their site, but it does exist, where you can get this iPhone here for 2 years, right? And so you just pay a monthly fee for 2 years, and then 2 years later, you just swap it out for the latest phone. Now, that might sound similar to a contract. It's not. Sky TV, they're doing something similar. So your Sky TV, we always used to own the Sky box. Now you rent the Sky box. So if you cancel your Sky, you've got to give them back the Sky box. You're renting stuff from them. Now, membership ranges, it's not cheap to be in the World Economic Forum. It's 60 grand on the very low end, up to 600 grand on the high end. Now, even if you have that money, which a lot of people do, you're highly vetted. They need to feel that you're on their agenda and on their cause, and then maybe you can get in. And that's a lot of money to be paying on an annual basis, but that gives them billions that they can use to persuade governments to come to their way of thinking. Now, this is where it got really interesting. So during the pandemic, Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, he wrote a book called The Great Reset. And this is what I want to talk about here. Now, the Great Reset was seen as an opportunity because of the pandemic to let's just get everything sorted. Let's reset and let's make it so everything works as we want it to. Now, in that, they talk about every country from the United States to China needs to participate in order for this to work, which is easier said than done. And so that's very, very important. But it's interesting to note that the United States is a member of the World Economic Forum, and the World Economic Forum is saying that we don't want you to be the superpower anymore. We feel that that power should be shared equally among some other members of this as well, like China and places like that. Now, every industry for the Great Reset to work, from oil and gas to tech, would have to be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. They're talking about big businesses not earning as much and being more for the people, which sounds great, but it doesn't work as well, I don't think, as that might sound. They talk about CEOs of businesses not earning crazy salaries like they do now, but Klaus, he earns over $1 million a year as his salary from the World Economic Forum, and he gets much more on top of that. Now, this is the big thing that they talked about in the Great Reset again. They talked about this, you'll own nothing and be happy, in an advert that they did many, many years ago. And so the advert just mentioned you'll own nothing and be happy. And it was talking about a life where you would have your dishwasher and you would rent it. And then when it broke or the new one came out, you'd swap it out and it would be on a subscription. Same as with Netflix and all these things that have actually got there. They've talked about that again in the Great Reset book. And it was interesting because this really got people very worried about what's actually ultimately going to happen. Because this is the 2030 agenda. This is their goal, that they're saying by 2030 you'll own nothing and be happy. However, when they've been questioned about this, people have said, well, what would happen to someone's residential property? They've said that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about more consumer products here. We're talking about things that we already don't own anymore. We don't own music. We don't own our videos and films really anymore. We don't own our for example, magazines. I've got Apple subscription, so I can get a magazine once a month on my iPad, but I don't actually own it. I don't have a physical copy. I have a digital copy. And so a lot of people have this perception that what's going to happen is the World Economic Forum are going to just take all of our property and we'll all be renters again. Now, I don't think that's what they're thinking. I genuinely don't think that that's what they're thinking. It's very easy to get sucked into that and think that's absolutely what they're going to do. But if you think about this in a logical way, every house in the world is different, right? They've got different windows, they've got different tiles. Some are well insulated, some are not insulated. They wouldn't have the teams to manage that. Right? They would have to employ all of the contractors in the world to get that to effectively work properly. Now, you do have a World Economic Forum member that is looking to be the biggest landlord in the UK. So let's talk about that. And that's Lloyds Bank. Now, Lloyds Bank have said, we want to be the biggest landlord in the UK, but they just want to own, to do that, 50,000 properties. Now, to me and you, 50,000 is a huge number, but it's not if you put it in perspective to how many actual houses there are in the UK. Now, what Lloyds are not going to do is come and buy my house that I own in Hastings. They're also not going to come and buy the flats that I own in Dorking. They're also not going to own the house that I own in Doncaster. What they would be looking to do is buy a tower block. So if a developer was doing a big tower block and there was 200 units in one place with one roof where they can do all the maintenance in the same building, they can manage it all efficiently, that's the type of deal that these big corporations might end up owning. And more of that will happen over time. I do believe that bigger corporations are going to own huge blocks of land, but I don't think that it's going to take your family house from you. I don't think it's going to take a landlord's portfolio from them. I just don't see that they're interested in that. I think there's enough money in those big corporate deals that that's how this would work. I don't think you're going to get anything seized from you. But I do see that a lot of people moving forward might like this kind of life. And so they would be happy to rent. They'd be happy to get maybe a discounted rent and do a 10-year deal and stick there for longer and have everything in that property that was not owned by them. So, for example, they lease the sofa, they lease the cooker, they lease the microwave, and anything breaks, it comes back to them. For some people, I think that's what they would want, and they'd be happy with that. But not for me. I think that owning assets is a very, very important thing. I think it makes you financially secure, and I just feel that that's where I would want to personally be myself. So, in all of this, is the World Economic Forum something that we need to be worried about? I think we definitely need to watch what they're doing. 100%. Now, if you feel that you can't control it. You can. If there's companies that are in that and the members of that and they're doing stuff that you just don't believe in, then vote with your feet. Don't buy their products or services. Vote for who you want in an election. Like, these things can be changed. I don't think any of this is a foregone conclusion at all. But I do think that in the future, you will get some towns that are built by one big construction company. They own all of that. But the rest of the UK will just be as it was. And some people will be happy with that. And it might just be areas of certain cities that this happens to. I just don't see in our lifetime, and definitely not by 2030, that they will be taking anything off you at all. When we had the King's speech the other day, a lot of people commented on that and said this is part of that. And the King's speech, the leasehold part, it actually made a leaseholder's rights better and stronger. It took nothing away from you at all. And so there's nothing to be worried about that because you could extend your lease to 1,000 years now, that means that these guys are going to take your property. The World Economic Forum doesn't own anything. It's the members that might listen to what they've been told, and they might then work, like Lloyd's is saying, we want to be a big landlord. That might mean that they'll bring products and services out that we don't own stuff going forward. But I don't think it's going to matter to your house. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and comments below. This is a good one. Do share this video, guys. Let me know if you share it. Do share it on Facebook. Do share it on Instagram. Email it to some people. WhatsApp it to some people. Let me know if you share it. I'll personally reply to all the comments. Smash the like button, guys. And do check out some more content, including this video right here.